Welcome to Geek on Film with your host, Robbie Holmes. Hey there, welcome to episode 18 of season 2 of Geek on Film. I'm excited this week to have a main review of Trap, and then we'll cover a couple other films, and let's jump right into a TV series that I think everyone should watch. I fell in love with the television show on Netflix called Blue Eye Samurai. I am not a huge anime fan. I think this is very anime influenced in general. But what I did love is the entire show. I could not be more enamored with it. It was created by Michael Green and Amber Noizimo, Zimi. And I would say it is probably by far one of the best things I've seen this year. If we were going to put it on Robbie's top 10 list, it would be pretty close to the top of any media experience I've had this year. If you haven't watched it, it is about a woman who has blue eyes in Japan during the time of the samurai. There was no blue-eyed people in Japan is the premise, and that she was born with influence from the outside world, and you follow the how terribly she's treated, and then how she reinvents herself as a samurai and hides her femininity and all these amazing things. It is by far one of the things I have gone back to. I actually held off for a while on watching episodes because I enjoyed it so much. I wanted to savor it. I wanted it to be something I could look forward to. In a year of film that I don't think has been hasn't been as good as previous years. I have found Blue Eyed Samurai to be something I have talked about with a lot of people, and it is something I have watched greedily. I have consumed in a couple of episodes in one sitting. I've then held off for weeks trying to process what I had just seen, and then also savor the next episodes that were coming up. It took me probably about 3 months to finish it, and it is not that long in a show. I think there's 8 episodes. The major characters are played by Maya Erskine, who is Mizu, and then George Takai is Seki. Masaoka is Ringo, and Brenda Song is Akemi. Daryl Barnett is Taigen, and Randall Park is Heigo Shindo. And there's a white outsider who is played brilliantly by Kenneth Branagh. And then there's the blind sword maker, who is absolutely positively one of my favorite characters in the entire show, played by the unbelievably talented and the guy you've known from everything, Kari Hiroyuki Tagayo. Unbelievable. You should watch this show. It is on Netflix. I will tell you, it is not for children. It is violent. There's sex. There's drugs. It is awesome, but definitely not for kids. Do yourself a favor. Pour a glass of wine. Put the kids to bed. Watch this. Let's move on to some movies. So I saw Wicked Little Letters. I was very excited about this film coming up. It really is full of actors that I really have a lot of affection for. So let's take a look at our synopsis by our friends over at IMDb. When people in Littlehampton, including conservative local Edith, begin receiving letters full of hilarious profanities, the rowdy Irish migrant Rose is charged with the crime. Suspecting that something is amiss, the town's women investigate. This movie seemingly built in a lab for our household. It is a period piece that has acting by 2 of my favorite actresses. Jessie Buckley plays Rose Gooding, who is the Irish migrant who's there, and Olivia Colman plays Edith Swan, the very uptight and stuffy woman from this town. Her father is played by Timothy Spall, Edward Swan. Her mother is played by Gemma Jones, Victoria Swan. And the cast is pretty unbelievably all the way down. Big highlight for me is Anjana Vasan playing Gladys Moss. The woman police officer. She is that is how she's described in the movie. It's so funny that she's not they don't say policewoman, and she even calls it out at one point. She's like, I'm a police officer. It's obvious I'm a woman, you know. This movie is, I think, for me, it didn't land as well as I wanted it to. I gave it 3.5 stars. My take on it was that it is a funny, silly, good time. The leading ladies through the entire cast made this enjoyable film. I think the casting was great. I think the script is trying to be screwball, but it doesn't go far enough into screwball, and it's based on real events, which I think were a lot more dramatic and a lot more serious. So I think the problem I had was I felt a sort of lack of consistency in the tone of the movie. I think Jessie Buckley as Rose is fantastic. Um, if you've listened to this podcast and any movie that she's ever been in that I've watched, I am enamored with her on-screen personas that she creates. I cannot take your eyes off of Jessie Buckley once she arrives, and she's going toe to toe with someone who I also feel like has a similar stage presence in Olivia Colman. And Olivia Colman depicting an uptight woman is perfect. It was almost like this movie could have been written for these two actors. I really liked it. I would say it was entertaining. It could have been more entertaining. It could have been more slapsticky. It could have been more serious. But I think the problem was it hit this really weird tone where it almost wanted to be like a Pink Panther esque movie with the way that the police woman was investigating behind the scenes because she wasn't allowed to do it, to how caricature esque and evil and misogynist the cops were and the town members are, and then to the ladies group that does some of the investigating with the policewoman. It feels a little bit like it was trying to bring sort of the Pink Panther aesthetic or something like that to the table, and yet it has pretty serious consequences, and it just there seems to be like some cognitive dissonance that was happening to me during the film. I would say go check it out. It was fun. I watched it with my wife and my mother-in-law on Netflix. Apparently, Netflix is getting some play in my house. So let's jump into the Bike Riders. I had already seen this in the theaters, but it came out and is now available to watch on Peacock, I believe. Let's jump into the synopsis from our friends at IMDb. After a chance encounter, headstrong Kathy is drawn to Benny, a member of a Midwestern motorcycle club, the Vandals. And as the club transforms into a dangerous underworld of violence, Benny must choose between Kathy and his loyalty to the club. Uh, this movie, in first viewing for me, I think was like a 3.5 star film, and I wasn't sure I loved it. And on watching it a second time, I was enamored. I was taken aback by the choices that were being made. The characters feel so lived into me now. They feel like the choices made by the actors are the right choices. I was looking forward to every sequence of this film after seeing it the first time and watching it with my wife and my mother-in-law. It was so exciting to see their reactions to it and to know what was coming. I kept finding myself looking across the room at them, trying to figure out how they were going to take what was about to happen. It was a much better experience than the first time I watched it. And I can't believe how much more I like this movie on its second viewing. The main characters of this movie are Benny, who is played by Austin Butler, who is doing his best impersonation of every cool guy from the 60s that's ever existed. Could be James Dean, could be Marlon Brando from the 50s, could be, he is so cool. And that's the way he's shot. You can tell how lovingly the director and the director of photography feel about Austin Butler's character. It is the first reveal of him at the pool table is astounding. Jodie Comer is played by Kathy, who is basically the linchpin of this movie. So much of this movie takes place around her. Benny is sort of this like backbone of the movie, but she is the action bouncing around. She is in every scene with Benny, basically, where or she's in scenes with the rest of the Vandals and she's fighting with The club leader, Johnny, played by Tom Hardy. He's unreal. I think I listened to so many interviews with the director and with people talking about this film. And one of the things that Jeff Nichols, the director and writer, let's take a step back. This movie is based on a photo essay book about a Midwestern motorcycle club that becomes, or yeah, motorcycle riding club that becomes basically a motorcycle gang as it transforms throughout the years through lots of reasons. Like its morality changes as members enter. There is the fallout of people returning from Vietnam. There's a huge push towards drugs that comes in as all of that is happening, as people are coming back from Vietnam. It seems to have really created not just rebelliousness, but general like true nihilism. Right, is a part of the club now, and Tom Hardy playing Johnny, who is very heavily influenced by Brando's characters back in the day, and he came to the table. Jeff Nichols described it with the way he wanted to play the character. So what I was describing to my wife recently is it feels like Tom Hardy has made a choice to play the character of Johnny, who is inspired by Brando. So you get like two layers of who Johnny is. When Johnny is the public face of the Vandals, he is doing his best Marlon Brando impersonation. So it's not Tom Hardy doing a Marlon Brando impersonation. He's already made a decision about who Johnny is, and then this is how Johnny would layer that on top of it. It's unreal. I think what Tom Hardy is doing in this movie is my review is the big three actors are all giving defined and lived in performances, and I think I had a different idea of what the movie would be when I saw it the first time. The deliberate pace, the affected accents of both Kathy and Johnny have now settled into me as sheer perfection. And I think it is really unreal what is happening in this movie. Plus, it is just a murderer's row of that guys and people in this movie that are playing all of the members of the motorcycle club. You've got Michael Shannon playing Zipco. You've got Mike Feist, who's playing Danny, who's also the person taking the photographs and doing the interviews. It's described as a photo essay book, but it's really like it's an anthropological dig into the group that is created. You've got Boyd Holbrook playing Cal. You've got Damon Harry playing Brucey, the right hand to Johnny. You've got Bo Knapp playing Wahoo. You've got Emery Cohen playing Cockroach. You've got Carl Glusman playing Cokie. You've got the kid who is sort of like the next generation of what the gang becomes, being played by Toby Wallace. Norman Reedus drops in as Funny Sonny and is unreal. It's just so good. There's so many like extra little nuanced characters being played by everybody. This is a movie you should watch. It's a movie you should probably watch twice. That's the best I can say for you is it will do you nothing but good to give this movie a second chance because it's on Peacock right now, and to watch it twice. Give it a first pass, let it digest, listen to some podcast about it, and then come back and watch it again. I think the repeat viewing of this movie specifically has really increased it in my eyes. I would say it's fast moved up my top 10 of the year. Let's jump into my final and main review this week. It's Trap, written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Let's take a look at our synopsis by our friends over at IMDb. A father and his teen daughter attend a pop concert only to realize they've entered the center of a dark and sinister event. That seems like not even what's in the trailer. Let's take a step back and I will give you a little synopsis from what I remember of the movie and how I think it should be synopsized. In the trailer, we see that Josh Hartnett, who is playing Cooper, a fireman in Philly, brings his daughter Riley, played by Ariel Dongi, to a concert of a pop star called Lady Raven, who's played by Salika Shyamalan, who is M. Night's daughter. And what we find out in the trailer is that the event, this big concert, is an afternoon concert, was specifically created as a way to do a sting on a felon or was turned into a sting for a felon who is a mass murderer called the Butcher. And we see in the trailer, so I'm not giving anything away that's not in the trailer, that Josh Hartnett's Cooper is the Butcher. So I'm going to spoil this movie. I think it's worth it to talk through it. If you haven't seen it, you can stop here and just say, I really like this. I'm in the bag for M. Night Shyamalan. I've always been in the bag for M. Night Shyamalan. I have been there since the beginning. I saw Unbreakable on an early aspect of my life with a big group of people that I have a lot of affection for. It really is. He has been one of my filmmakers. There's a podcast that I love that I've mentioned before called the Blank Check Podcast. And if you think about what the Blank Check Podcast is based around, and if you go back and listen to it, its premise almost comes from M. Night's career, right? He does The Sixth Sense and then has a blank check to do anything he wants. And that is what that podcast is all about. Their tagline is sometimes those checks cash and sometimes they bounce, baby. If you'd like more of that, head over to Blank Check and listen to it. I think it's great. But I have been watching these movies in real time. He has been one of those directors that I have been following my entire life. And I like his type of weird. And this is one of his more chaotic, non-traditional. People have described some of his movies as like, what if an alien sent down a script of how they thought humans spoke? I think what this movie has is a whole bunch of highly stylized dialogue and vacillating personality types of the main character Cooper. So you can see both who he is as the Butcher and then how he is portraying himself in society. And I dug it. I think Josh Hartnett was great. In my review, I said in a just world he would be considered for at least Golden Globe level nominations. He's really, really good. He is playing multifaceted person and he's giving you multiple distinct views of who he is, and every one of them is a little heightened, which I think is the point. It's a really impressive movie from my perspective, and I will very happily watch it many times when it comes out on streaming services. So that is my review. If you haven't seen it, you should head off and you should see it before it leaves theaters. Otherwise, hang tough. It seems like it's now on PVOD. It should come to streaming pretty soon. All right, spoilers incoming now. So we get to this venue. We find out that it is turned into a sting. There's a profiler. The profiler is played by Haley Mills, which ironically, Haley Mills, I believe, is almost like M. Night winking and nodding at us, the fans of cinema, because she played Susie Evers and Sharon McKendrick in The Parent Trap, which this movie is. It is a parent trap. I think this movie is heavily influenced by Hitchcock's movies. There's a lot of like feeling of the way that the cameras move and the decisions to do very, very close and tight shots of the faces of characters that I feel like are very heavily inspired. I think early on in M. Night's career, he was shackled with the idea that he was the next Spielberg. And I think what he is he's a heavily influenced man by films of lots of different directors, but the ones that I often find myself comparing his movies to are more Hitchcockian than they are Spielbergian, to be honest. And I think this movie is really a giant love letter to Hitchcock and his way of making movies. I think it's also pretty cool that he was able to create a movie centered around his daughter's singing career and her becoming a star. She's already a musician. She's been doing this. And there was a lot of conversation apparently in the household with him and his daughters. His other daughter just created the movie The Watchers, where he was the first AD on that, which is really funny if you go back and listen to some of her interviews, where he was more nervous about shooting that for her as the first AD than he is about his own films. And this was one where it was like, what if there was a movie that was based around music and then they found a way to this script? And so it's this whimsical look at sort of pop culture and pop music And what's cool is I just found out, I did a little more digging, and it turns out that they like shot each of the scenes like three times. So once with like all of the music, and then once with all the crowd shots. So music and crowd shots, then music and lip syncing for Lady Raven, and then shots so that way they could put it up on the big the screens inside the theater, and then shot with a background tracking that has just a metronome for timing, so they could do dialogue with the audience there. It seems like a really fascinating shoot overall. But the movie follows Cooper throughout trying to figure out how to get away from this. So he eventually steals like a walkie talkie, and he can hear the profiler talking about him and about his motivations as he's about to do some things. So there's like, he will try and find a way out. He'll try to find a way to an exit. He'll try to, and it's all things he's doing in that moment, which is funny and clever. But what you see is him trying to figure it out, right? Like, I think this is a movie that is a puzzle that we're invested in the killer's perspective. We often talk about M. Night Shyamalan movies having twists, and the twist here is we're introduced to Cooper as just a girl dad, like a guy who's taking his daughter to see her favorite artist. And then it slowly gets revealed to us in the movie, slowly in the first quarter of the movie, that this is who he is. And then the next two quarters of the movie are basically chasing, or if we do it in thirds, like the first third is the reveal and sort of establishing the characters and then the reveal. Then the middle third of the movie is this like cat and mouse game that he's playing with himself, right? Like it's nobody directly chasing him. Like he throws a woman down a flight of stairs to distract people because he's going to try to go out the door, and he sees all the cops there. And, there's all these little things. There's at one point, like one of the artists, I think it might be Kid Cudi, comes up through the floor and is singing with Lady Raven, and he's excited by, and he even points it out to his daughter. He's like, Riley, what about going down there? Would be cool, right? You get to see what the real industry and how this is really done. So all of it is this like cat and mouse game of him against this sort of non-present police force. Everything is at an arm's distance. He ends up stealing like a badge and going into the area where you hear the cops talking about how they're going after him. And he has this sort of all-American good guy look that allows him to just walk amongst the cops like it's no big deal because he's got a badge. And like a badge of somebody who works at the facility. And yeah, I was really impressed with Josh Hartnett. I really like how M. Night creates tension. It's always been something I love about what he does. There's a great scene where he goes, everybody's been making fun of it. Like the guy who works at the venue who sells t-shirts basically is like an exposition dump. His name should be called like Mr. Exposition, because he just explains everything that's happening directly to Josh Hartnett's character. But he establishes that like Josh Hartnett is a good guy because he lets somebody else buy the t-shirt instead of his daughter. And then in the conversation, he tells him he's a fireman. And, so like he's seeding why this person would trust him. It may not be make direct sense that this person would be this open, but it's also a movie. I don't know that we're shooting this as though it's real life. And I think that's the thing that I love about M. Night's films is he shoots films that are heightened. I don't know that there is somebody in the world who is unbreakable, or like we see where Bruce Willis's character in Unbreakable can brush past someone and see their motivations, see what they've done, who also is impenetrable, right? Like, I don't know that really exists, but we don't question it in that movie. This is a movie about a cat and mouse game that's being played by a profiler and a serial killer, and he also happens to be a dad. And I really thought it was cool. I think there's a really funny way that this unfolds, right? You get M. Night, actually, his cameos are always in he always cameos in his films. And, Cooper figures out that he has a badge and he's looking through the audience. So he figures that this person might be looking for the one audience member who goes up on stage. So he goes and chats with him and figures it out. And then he tells a story about Riley being previously sick, and this is a big deal. And he didn't know she was going to be able to make it. So tells a sob story and gets Riley in a position because he realizes that he could go through the backstage area to get away, because that's where one of the few places where the cops aren't. And it's even explained at some point. He hears that. So eventually Riley ends up on stage. So you see these moments of like whether or not he's going to get past security, whether or not they've been vetted, whether or not there's all these little cat and mouse moments throughout the movie, right? Little puzzles that are happening. And then you get after the sequence on stage where you see him so excited and so much tension for him, whether or not his daughter's going to have a good experience and she's going to get comfortable and it's not going to be sad or silly, or she's going to enjoy herself. And then you get to the point where they end up backstage and he realizes no matter what they do there, unless it is part of her entourage, they're going to be checked out. So he goes and asks Lady Raven to talk to him. And in that moment, it tells her this entire thing is for me. I am the butcher, right? And shows her the video, the live stream of the person that he's got tied up right now. And tells her that this. So this is a big twist that I think everybody wasn't expecting, with a third act reveal of like he's going to be open and honest with her, and that she has to be a part of this, otherwise that person's going to die. I don't think it's perfect. I think it's really clever. I think it's not what I expected in any way, shape, or form. But I also enjoyed it. Like you end up again in this weird cat and mouse of like, how is he going to get out? How is he going to? Where are they going to go? So then Lady Raven decides she's going to go to the house. This is where things get a little more wonky. So she ends up meeting his wife, Rachel, played by Allison Pill, and then that all unfolds. And then she ends up in. She knows that he's the killer. She steals his phone, her phone. She goes online with some clues and tells a live stream of her people, like on Snapchat or on Twitch or something like that, that they, or an Instagram reel, a live reel, that they should go look for this person. They should find this house. It's silly, but it's also true. Having hundreds of thousands of people jump on a live stream is probably better than calling the cops and explaining what's going on. So that's crazy and fun, and it continues to go. We find out that the way that this was all set up is that Rachel, his wife, had followed him to a house because she was suspicious of the smell he had. She said that like he didn't smell like a person who was a fireman. It was this like antiseptic sort of medical smell. And when she got to the house, she found that there was a receipt, a paper receipt, which is also a weird component of this, that there was a ticket bought or tickets bought for this concert. So she did an anonymous submission that this was there and that it might be the butcher. So then the cops get there. So she's sort of a little in the know. She suspects her husband. And it just, yeah, you should watch the rest of the movie. I don't want to give away all the ending. But I dug it. It's fun. If you like M. Night Shyamalan and you like his movies, this is for you. Like, it's for all of us. We love his films. I've loved his films forever, Yeah. Do yourself a favor. Go watch this movie. It's fun. Oh, I think it was Russ, Parker Wayne, that came out of the floor. Kid Cudi was playing the Thinker, who we see on stage with Lady Raven and we meet backstage, who is really a character. I like it. Go watch it. It's about to be on premium VOD today. It should be on streaming pretty soon after that. But if you get a chance, check it out. All right. That's it for me. I'm hopeful that I think tonight I might be watching. So you might get a couple of movies that are a little bit that are just hitting streaming or are premium VOD. I injured my foot, so it'll be a little harder for me to make it to the movies. And I will hopefully be pumping those out. Also look for the possibility. I'm very heavily considering doing reviews of older movies. So just choosing a movie and then doing like a 5 to 6 minute video on that or audio track on that. Let me know what you think. Please reach out to me, geekonfilmcom on Instagram and on Twitter. Feel free to comment, please rate and review this podcast on either Spotify or, Apple Podcasts. It'd be really helpful. And I look forward to hearing from you. Please be a part of the community. Please reach out. I'm Robbie the Geek everywhere online. If you're looking for me on Letterboxd, I'm also Robbie the Geek there. I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye. This has been a Geek on Film podcast. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.